Right, so we should be live.
Okay, usual question then please, if anybody's watching, can you tell us that you can hear us and see us? That would be really helpful. To answer the first question we already had, can we do it at 5 o'clock? No, because it's 7:30. We tried one earlier, which is great for our various overseas subscribers, which is wonderful, but we had very poor figures on it because most of the UK people are having, well, I was going to say tea, but it's a bit late for tea. Afternoon tea is 4 o'clock, but it's evening meal largely in the UK.
I've knocked the camera.
Evening meal being a military term, but there you go, that's what I tend to call it. Yeah, so everybody can hear us, yeah. So I'll start with a few things till we get a few questions. So this is the project I've been working on for the last couple of days. So it's quite a nice little 060 shunter. And what it actually is a long time ago, somebody very kindly gave me a more or less non-running Hornby Terrier chassis. And Doug the other day had an afternoon of fixing Locos. And he got that one running really nice. And I was looking at it thinking, well, what body can I get? And it just suddenly occurred to me that Daypole made the kit. And I wondered if it would fit. So I bought the kit on spec just to see. And in fact, if you make a big hole in the bottom and you take a hacksaw to the mounting for the motor, it fits like a dream. So I have a rather nice little diesel shunter. Now, it's not technically correct for an 04 and 03 because it hasn't got the jack staff and stuff, but it actually painted up really nicely. The black stripes are done with black paper because I haven't got that steady a hand, but actually from any distance you can't tell. So I've got a rather nice little BR blue shunter. There was all sorts of 060s, so it could be one of them. There was quite a lot. There was only one or two that BR took on strength as part of the modernisation plan. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's going to look great going around my layouts.
Have you not worked out what the camera is yet?
No, not really.
The amount we've done. It's in the middle.
It's in the middle. Well,
no, it's right there.
Yeah, I know.
The thing in the front.
I'm watching.
The middle of the two
but I'm
monitors.
watching us. It feels odd looking at it. Anyway, the lights are in my eyes. I'm stage struck.
It's called stage lighting. I know they're in our eyes.
And that's where the term stage struck comes from, which is the old arc lightings at the foot of the stage, which blind you when you watch.
It's either that or no lighting. So.
Am I interested in real railways? Sadly, so this is where we do the whole no, I wasn't until Doug was 9, which is 7 years ago.
I've got to change the printers.
He's going to go into business. I must continue.
3D printing.
So that gives me a chance to bore on train history. No, I'm a military vehicle and aviation man, and I spent 40 years. I basically forgot more than I knew. I got to the point I just lost interest because I knew as much as I was almost conceivable to know. And then Doug got into railways, and I just got interested in a little bit about how the real railways operate, and it's kind of taken over. So much so that I'm now I've got a big library, so that's about railway ships, because I was amazed to find the British Rail and its predecessors owned a small navy of various ships. And I've also got this one, which is I tried to run a railway, which is very influential. He wrote this in the late 60s and got fired by BR for writing it, which I'm really looking forward to reading. And I found that from another book. So it's got to the stage now where, yes, I do know quite a lot about the real railways, but I also know a lot about the real railways and not the myths that people who think they know a lot about railways because they regurgitate the same. Little things like most people didn't miss steam locos, particularly the train crews, because they went from working in the freezing cold and the boiling hot and the dirt and the mucky to sitting in cabs with heaters, with trains that were actually very reliable. And the first diesels were as reliable as the steam locos, despite what people think. It was as often that diesels had to rescue steam as the other way around. But there was a lot of prejudice against diesels, and still is. And in fact, there is a guy who says that's why model railways died in popularity in the 1970s, because all the steam enthusiasts who abandoned railways because there was no trains, but they were called diesels. Right, go on then, Doug. What do we have down here? James Trains website. Is that James or James? Because James write military books.
Sounds like a tongue twister.
Yeah. Yes, I have used tea. I've used dried tea leaves for making ballast and grass scatter, and it works quite well, actually, especially if you drink a lot of tea. Now we're going to talk about biscuits, just while we digress. These are bourbons, which...
They are the best biscuits in the world.
I think they're like dog biscuits. Now, Doug insists on calling them chocolate biscuits, but they're not chocolate. They don't even taste like chocolate. So we are asking, are Bourbons chocolate biscuits or not? I say not. He says, I like these biscuits, which are Nice biscuits or nice biscuits. And do we say Nice or nice?
Abby, you ready?
A couple of little questions.
They're nice biscuits.
We have experimented in other scales. We've done N, 009, and I even experimented with TT, but on O gauge track, which I can't remember what the correct term is for, and I was going to scratch build stuff. I gave up on N. I will eventually build a little round and round N layout because we've got the nice Kato steam loco and our own N gauge, but it's too small for our eyesight.
Ashley Wilson and Eddie Owen have good brains.
Well, custard creams I'll eat if I really have to. If I was starving to death on a desert island, I'd eat custard creams.
See, channel members, they know what they're doing. Bourbons all the way.
Now, McVitie's digestives are alright, but only if they're covered in chocolate. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, we are, Kristen. Christian, sorry. I haven't got my glasses. I can't see Jack without my glasses. Yes, you do not need a lot of money to do model railways. Just ignore what everybody bar us, it appears, tells you. To give you an example, bought that on eBay last week. £8.60 including pack carriage. Now I'll grant you it's taken me 2 months to track one down that cheap and get one to slip through the net. It runs okay. It's not the best runner, but Doug did his magic on it. It's a bit noisy, but now runs really nicely. Less than £9 for a boxed 040. Can be done. Can be done.
Oh, chocolate hobnob. He's got a point.
Yeah, chocolate hobnob. Yeah, with fudge, whatever that one's called.
Yeah, we would have got your email for the virtual rail exhibition, but at the moment, all the submissions, well, I say all the submissions, all of like 2 of the submissions have just gone into a folder to deal with later until we get some more interest in it, because with only a couple of entries, it's not worth doing. So, yes, we have received it, yes, we have seen it, it looks very good, but there's a slim chance that the virtual show will be happening anytime soon.
It's getting the right entries, isn't it? Yes, Ewood, Wood Valley Railway. Yeah, I could make a model railway shunting layout for next to nothing because I buy the truck second hand and I scratch build the buildings for pence. The thinking behind our latest series is for the people that don't have those skills yet. 9 years ago, I didn't have those skills. I just decided I want to do something like the bungalow I did in the last video. How do I make a timber building? And I have a go. And actually, everybody can scratch build. We've got loads of videos. There is no reason why anybody couldn't scratch build in cardboard except the confidence to give it a go. It's your railway. If it goes wrong, it hasn't cost you anything, you throw it away and you have another go. Jane's trains. Okay, we'll take a look. So do we have any other questions? Questions of what this is all about, really? Bourbon's not, but yes, I saw that. Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Ah, gotta love predictive text.
Gotta love predictive text.
See, Google keyboard predictive text is fine.
How thick is too thick to scratch build a building? How do you mean thick? Thickness of the material?
Cardboard thickness.
Depends what you're going to build. Mounting board is great, so long as you put some thin card on the front for windows, because otherwise you've got 2 foot thick windows. But then if you're in Yorkshire, you've got 2 foot thick walls anyway. The Goodall Valley Railway, all done in memory of a deceased grandmother. Oh well, yes, we. A lot of my railways are a little quiet nod to my late father who died in 2001. Because he had railways for a long while when I was little, and then didn't. He got me into militaries. So there's often a little nod to my dad in railways. What type of layout should I start with? Simple, something simple. Don't plan big. Takes too long, gets too complicated. Nice little shunting layout like we've just built. Simple round and round layout, couple of points, couple of sidings. Enjoy yourself, get some trains running, but don't get over complicated. It's one of the reasons I've got against things like very complicated DCC. Just keep it simple. DC, couple of locos, and then you can go to the DCC and the whole detailed route. And here we have the duck, which people might remember from a couple of live streams ago, where we got our words muddled and fortunately said duck. Hence the duck. Absolutely right. It's your railroad or railrod. Build it how you like, as I say to people.
Railroad.
That's what he put. It's auto text.
Oh, gotta love auto text.
If you want, Richard at Classic Rail knew of one young lady who deliberately bought lots of funny old Locos and rolling stock from him and painted them all shades of pink. And she has all her buildings are various shades of pink, because being a bloke I don't do the whole pink, purple, aubergine, it's all pink. But pink and pink trains and pink Loco must look wonderful. As long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter. I'd love to have seen that at an exhibition, wouldn't you?
It would have been quite funny.
Oh, it'd been epic at an exhibition.
Maybe we should do
An
that.
all pink railway, that would really
Just to
wind people
annoy
up.
purists even more. Our entire plan for exhibitions, by the way, is just checklist. Is this annoying rivet counters? If yes, take to exhibition.
Yep.
If no, make it annoying.
We could do a Trolls railway with all bright colours.
I bet on the internet you could get. You remember when McDonald's did like the troll toys in the Happy Meals? I bet you could get hundreds of the things for £1 on eBay.
Yeah.
Cover the layout in them. Pink train.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got.
Yeah, quite right. Now, wrong with thick walls in Yorkshire. You need them up there. We had a week in August, and I think it didn't rain on one morning.
And it was cold.
You can name your layout Homeward Valley branch line. That'd be great. The greatest form of compliment is imitation, isn't that right?
Would you look into making your own track? We tried 3D printing track with electrically conductive filament. It wasn't.
It wasn't. Right. The reason you won't get dust on your track, what happens, and people with more knowledge than me, the mixture of the electricity through the loco and whatever attracts a particular kind of gunk to the rails and the wheels, and that's what builds up.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to clean them.
It just creates an electromagnetic field around the motor which attracts all kind of ferrous materials.
That. And it does it to the track as well. That's why I have a teenager. You will need to clean your track. If it's nickel silver, it's not too bad. Use a solvent, WD-40, window cleaner, whatever various people use. If it's steel tracker, it's really bad. We actually use a track rubber or very fine sandpaper just to take the worst of it off. But nickel silver, that's a bit harsh for. But you will have to clean the track, and you have to clean it every so often. You can't clean it once and then leave it. And then you'll probably have to clean your wheels as well, which is a slightly more tricky. Lima Hoover with a motor failure. I believe you can put CD motors in them, although they're on YouTube, but I haven't seen it done.
Does it literally mean the motor out of a CD player?
Yeah. Yeah, you take the motors out and they're very similar, and you wire them in. Yeah, a pink daughter might get my daughter back into trains. Yep. There's all sorts of shades of pink out there. Just ask any lady.
Pink daughter might get
No, a pink railway. So it's probably a pink daughter as well. Most girls are pink. What actually happens is girls are pink until they get to about 11 or 12, and then they wouldn't be seen dead in pink, which is when your whole goth and emus come in. Emus?
Emus? That's a type of ostrich.
Yep. No, it's a kind of electrical multiple unit.
No, that's an EM.
And then they get into their 30s and decide they're girls again, and everything goes pink again. I'm led to believe.
Oh no. The bear jumped.
Would I look into making my own track now? No, because I don't have that much time in my life. Second-hand track is so cheap. I don't see the point in building your own track. I know if you're a purist, it means you get the right curves and the right points and all that sort of thing, and sleeper spacing, blah 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 blah. But all the time I can get cheap second-hand track, and that works great for me. What coloured paint looks like sandstone? Beige of some description. Yep, hello from the States. Soldering. Doug does all my soldering. I burn myself and melt things, so I let him do it.
Yes.
Now somebody's commented your science, you see.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
Science with Douglas. It's because I study
Oh,
physics.
please,
Oh wait,
can we-
what's studying?
Can we please not have the whole WD-40? WD-40, go and watch the video.
Oh my, yes.
No, WD-40
Oh.
doesn't ruin anything. Sorry, but it doesn't. We've comprehensively proved this in an earlier video.
We'll
Doesn't
wind-
gunk anything up.
We'll wind you up if you write another comment about WD-40, and you
Just
won't
go and
like
watch
us.
the video. Just go and watch the video.
And we're going to have another part 3 of that soon, so don't
Yeah.
you worry.
Yeah, laminate floorboard's great. Yeah. Yeah, no, fine. Yeah, 21 centimetres by 85 centimetres. You have a great little shunting layout there.
Hold up. WD-40 used something designed for electronics. Is WD-40 not designed to make electronics resist water?
Yeah. Somebody's building a fairy and unicorn railway for my daughter, Dibley 1950. You have to send us photos. We have to see the fairy and unicorn railway. There's a family joke about me and unicorns, because obviously I'm into trains and tanks and all this sort of military stuff. So I pretend every Christmas that I really want a pink unicorn for Christmas present. Nobody ever buys me one. So now every time we go shopping, if we see pink unicorns, him and my wife and his mother get all excited and wind me up about pink unicorns. So we have to see the pink unicorn. Now, I'll ask a question about filament.
Yeah, 3D printer filament does make a massive difference, because if it's bad, nothing prints properly. We use Sunlu or some other one, G something. We primarily use Sunlu, but the other company is the same company, just under a different name. It's the exact same filament, but it's like Sunlu or G-Tech or something.
That's a good idea. Somebody said, why don't we use some WD-40 branded tanker wagons on their layouts?
Oh, yeah.
We could do all 3 in 1 oil. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've had filament that just won't work, haven't we? It does vary. We've had filament that printed brilliantly, really sharp.
Basically,
but shattered.
Don't buy unbranded filament. That's the main thing. If it's just like on eBay and just goes PLA 3D printer filament, it's useless. Don't buy it. If it's actually got a brand name, then it will be alright. The best stuff we've ever used is we get our printers from a UK company called Technology Outlet, and they make their own filament, and that's the best filament we've ever used, but it's more expensive, so we only get it occasionally.
We found some that simply won't print. We found some that printed wonderful, but it was so brittle as soon as you tried to clean it up, it just shattered.
We found some that were too good, so they were so rock solid we couldn't clean them up.
Yeah. Like concrete, but it wouldn't glue, because the other problem is, of course, if it's really hard, you then actually can't glue it with anything. Even super glue tends to run off. So yeah, it took us a while to get everything right, actually, to be fair. So we've done the Loco, we've done the mug. Quite like this. It says, I might look like I'm listening to you, but in my head I'm thinking about trains, which is pretty good. A WD-40 troll layout. Yeah. The pink unicorn's on his Instagram, so we'll have a look at that.
We're having a look. What is it? Same username. Copy and paste.
Hi Dave Day. Yeah, we did miss you.
Copy. Oh, you can't do that, okay. Paste. What a pink unicorn, man. How far down are we looking? Oh, well then.
Oh, no, come on, it's the mushroom.
No, let's find where it starts. There's loads. Wait, do we go from where it starts, or do we go from where it begins?
Yeah, no, we're liking that.
What do we do?
We're liking that. There it is, the pink
Show
mushroom.
this one?
Yeah, show that one. That is just epic.
There we go.
Do you know, I like, because the last time we had the toilet seat railway, which I thought was the highlight of the night, and I have to say, that is the highlight of my day.
That is good. What else is there? That one.
We'll put a couple of people up Dibley 1973 so people can see it.
See what else we got here.
Just, oh look, no, you got to do the rainbow wagon.
The wagons.
Now that is just epic.
That is good. Converted from that, I assume.
Yeah. No, that is just brilliant. Yeah. So we'll leave that on. We'll keep that one running tonight. I love the sugar cane.
Where?
You see, that is fun. I'm sorry, but that is just epic. Now that needs to be an exhibition. You get that finished, we'll put that in our virtual exhibition if it takes place. And if we ever run another exhibition, we've just... Oh, you see the pale blue tunnel mouth?
Where? Oh, yeah.
Oh no, that's a proper done one. I thought it was going to be pale blue. I like the pale blue and pink.
Almost.
Yeah, it's much easier to do 00 cheaply than N, I'm afraid, which is one of the reasons that I gave up on N. Yeah, a few more questions would be good. Apparently in France they have Lima track that is pink. Excellent.
Nice.
How many entries have we got? Two. Plus us. The trouble is we've had a couple of people approach us, but we're Budget Model Railways and we do Budget Model Railways, and so when someone approaches us, we don't want to offend them by saying, yep, it's too perfect. but by and large, what we don't want to see is a big perfect layout, because you can go on YouTube and find thousands of hours of that. You can go to any exhibition and that is all they're full of. And we are constantly trying to do the different message. Anybody that came and visited us at Bluebell a couple of years ago will know the kind of thing that we're trying to do. And we'll do that again if we can in a couple of years' time. Cork sheet is a tricky one. If you're going to ballast it, then you might as well put cork sheet there. I guess it might make it quieter. It's another expense. It depends how accurate you want to be.
Used it.
We don't, because we use ballast mat. So yes, for us there's no advantage. There's no need for it because we don't need the shoulder there. We don't need the raised track. But obviously, if you're trying to be prototypical, then you've got to put something there. Cork mat's as good as anything, I go. We used lino once, didn't we? Very successfully. We had some offcuts of lino which we used. Yeah.
Got the WD-40 layout perfect, right? You get a can of canned air and make some fake labels for it to say WD-40. As the train comes around, have a pressure sensor, so when the train comes around, it sprays it. Of course, it's spraying nothing, it's just spraying air, but it will look like it's spraying WD-40 on the Locos it's going around.
Something can be perfect and still budget. I mean, but what I'm trying to get at is that a lot of the layouts we're sent have had a huge sum of money spent on them. So they're full of resin buildings, they're full of DCC, they're full of very expensive locos and rolling stock. There's probably £1,000. That's not budget. It's not a question of they're not perfect in budget. I can make a perfect layout or not next to nothing if I really wanted. It's more a question that a large sum of money has been spent on them. It is more that what we need. It's more that we mean. Strangest least expected item or resource you've ever used on a layout. Probably 3-in-1. Probably ready mix filler for rock faces was quite good fun. Yeah. Goodall Valley Railway interested in the virtual exhibition? Yes, we sort of got the Flying Scotsman running, didn't we? Dave asks.
Yeah.
Ish. It needs a bit more work, and it was on the wrong layout. We need to get it up on the loft really and give it a bit of a fix. We ran out of time when he went through the. But thank you very much, Dave. It's very good of you to send it to us. It sort of runs, but we need to put a bit more work on it. Yeah, Wordsworth's very good. They're a little bit basic for me, but they're very good.
Paper and only paper. Well, if you had a gluing material, if you layered paper over paper over paper.
Yeah, so only by laminating
cardboard.
until it's cardboard. Of course, you can make a building out of cardboard. Whether it will survive is a different matter. I use cereal packet card, which is free because he eats boxes of the stuff.
I'm a serial killer.
Yeah, he's a serial killer. So I personally would say I wouldn't bother with paper, but you can definitely do it with cereal card. And if you laminate cereal card 2 or 3 thicknesses thick, it's actually pretty good.
Drain pipes, cocktail sticks painted black.
Yeah, cocktail sticks painted black, or you can actually use a black marker pen, which is much quicker, and that works really well.
What the usual questions come up?
What's that?
3D printed buildings are a maybe.
The problem with 3D printed buildings, there's so many companies already making kits, and the Daypole buildings are so cheap.
I spoke when we used to use glass beds. I
Yeah.
was on one of the old ended.
We would really be reinventing the wheel. I've recently.
Also for the fact that just this simple side takes 4 hours to print, and we can print almost an entire train for that.
Yeah, it's probably a no, is the honest answer. Gutters, you just use black paper folded, but you use a big piece stuck up the roof. You don't ponce around with little bits like I did till I read Mr. Ahern's book, and it looks fine. Looks fine.
Email is going in the chat.
You asked, yes, I know you asked about 5 o'clock. I know it's good for some people, but we get a lot less people watching at 5 o'clock than we do at 7:30. So if anybody wants to contact us about layouts, then Doug's put the links. We do have Facebook and all sorts of stuff.
Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Patreon. I think we even have a LinkedIn, but I don't post anything on there. All I get is a million spam emails a day from them. Well,
the control of the H&M Duet, if it still works, will be perfect. Take the Locos and rolling stock out. Give them a run. Take them apart. The main thing we find is that, particularly the old Lima ones, the motor bearings tend to need a drop of oil. 3-in-1 is fine, just put it on a cocktail stick. but just a little something, because they tend to dry out. That's where the screechy noise comes from. And you might need to clean the wheels and make sure your track's running well. That's my biscuit, but you may have it. But I mean, a lot of our stuff is 25 years old. I recently acquired from John, God rest his soul, an old Hornby Hymet, which is 30-40 years old, and gave the wheels a clean, gave the whole thing a spray with WD-40, sat it on the track, let it run for half an hour, and it was fine. And then I weathered it and painted it, and it looked great.
The virtual show is at some point in the future.
Right, cheap locos and buildings. We've got all sorts of videos on it, so just troll back through. eBay is getting harder and harder, notwithstanding my £8 one, but it's getting incredibly hard. There are so many people in lockdown clearing out theirs or their granddad's attic out who've got no idea about trains, trying to get huge sums of money for locos they don't even know if they can run. I would personally go to somebody like Classic Rail, Hatton's, AGR, one of the retailers that specialises in second hand, and pay a little bit more but get what is going to be a good loco. Buildings, our current videos, if you watch, Super Quick and Daypole is the easy answer. They're all under a tenner, and that's the easiest way of doing buildings, to be honest, easy and cheapest ways. Any use for cotton buds? Yeah, cleaning locos and track. A tank engine for £5, very good. No, I haven't got any A4s. I'm not a big steam loco fan. I've got a few, but I'm primarily, I say I've got a lot actually, to be fair, but I'm not, I know all my diesels, I know all about my diesels, I can recognise the diesels. My steam train knowledge is very limited, very limited. Well, cheap static grass, just buy static grass and use a shaker bottle, or just buy cheap grass scatter from people like Javis and so on. It's cheap enough anyway, to be honest, that you don't necessarily have to make a cheap alternative. Ashton models, okay, we'll have a look. You can get new Hornby track cheaply from Hornby and a number of dealers. I just wouldn't. There's no advantage in buying new track. There's so much second hand floating around that's about half the cost. But if you really must, then any of the retailers will sell it to you. But be very, very careful you shop around, because the eBay prices can vary by as much as 100% on everything at the moment. I bought Daypole buildings for £7 and seen them listed at 21, which clearly some poor muppets paid. So do shop around. Why are model trains so expensive? Well, we've got several videos on that, and we ask the same question constantly. The newer stuff I get, I understand that if you're going to make a new state-of-the-art...
Most view video.
Sorry?
Pretty sure that's our most view video.
Yes, check our video. I get that the new stuff has to be expensive. I don't get why they only make 500 when they can sell 1,000. That's just a way of keeping the price expensive. But I don't understand why somebody, especially Hornby, can't release a decent budget range, because their budget range is still pretty expensive, really, for what it could be. You know, a carriage with 4 bits of moulded plastic and 2 wheels, and they want £18, when their own bogie coach with 2 bogies and everything else is still only £18. Something not right there, folks. No, don't use an electric fly swatter unless you want to electrocute yourself. Everybody uses them, although I've never seen an electric fly swatter in a UK shop, so I don't know if that's an overseas thing.
I know Caleb had one.
Just do what we do and get a drinks bottle, shake it upside down, punch a hole in the top, and that'll work just fine.
I think we're alive. Random question.
Who did you get your Class 47 for 35 and your 040 for 25 from? Because you just said you got it. It'd be nice to know who from. Yeah. Yeah, Hornby's range is not particularly budget. People are sick of hearing it, but if they will sell you the motorised chassis for £8, but the loco is 35, that means the plastic body is £27. Now, anybody that knows anything about buying stuff from Japan knows that that's just bonkers. That loco should be about 20 quid. This is reflected in the fact that some retailers sell them new at £25, which means somewhere there's a lot of margin in it. And it's also reflected in the fact that Hornby will sell you a whole set for 50 when they want 35 for the loco. the plastic wagons are 2 bits of moulded plastic and some wheels. They should not be 15, 18 pound. They could easily be sub 10, you know, just for the basic one. I get the expensive stuff and the accurate stuff, but the cheap stuff that Hornby have been making for 30 or 40 years should by now be down to almost no price. The fact that at the moment there is only one budget Loco available in the UK, which is Hornby's 040, is outrageous. You know, why is the 060 not constantly available at £35? Why are some of the basic diesels not available at 35-40? Any other hobby, war games, radio controlled, has a huge budget range to choose from to get you into the hobby. The UK railway hobby is obsessed with the rich enthusiast who will pay huge sums of money for a state-of-the-art model. It's as simple as that, really. That's why they're expensive, because there's always somebody who'll pay for it. Doesn't bring people into the hobby, though. Oh, thanks for subbing. Model Railways Monthly International Online. You have to have a look at that.
What's coming up in the next weeks from us?
We've got a video, if you edit it, on how to make a signal box out of the...
you screwed that one up so much.
Well, you're going to have to...
That's going to take me like 2 hours.
Well, me and you'll have to sit and do it, because I can't remake it, and it's got to be done for that series. I did tell you. Right, any scale models are brilliant. Their buildings are okay, but all their accessories are fabulous. I've just spent a small fortune with them, buying all sorts of things: bridges, tunnels, boats, ships, loads for my boats, loads for my wagons. Definitely check out any scale models, and they paint up really well. And he's expanding his railway range, because he was originally war games. Yeah, definitely.
Model Minutes is here if you want to talk about them again.
Model Minutes is here, so big shout out to Model Minutes. Many thanks. You very kindly. We're looking forward to the videos on your channel.
Over there.
Did a military loco and some military wagons and coaches.
Camera's over there.
I know, but it's not. Look, you
in the middle.
You do it. I'm the wrong way round. And a particularly nice paint job on a tramway, which I'm going to use in my harbour. So hello to Model Minutes. Thank you for those. Yeah, £60 still more than we've ever paid for a loco. 55's the most we've ever paid for a loco. That's the most we've been to. Signal box video will be good. I just converted the Daypole coal order office to a signal box, but no, it's got to be up by Tuesday.
I mean, it'll be good if I can edit out how bad it is. Yeah,
I did it in lots of bits, but if you just sit quietly
and
with
you
me,
forgot to wear a microphone.
But we can voice over the last bit. But if we sit and do it, we can do it. You've just got to learn patience. Doug doesn't do patience. He's a teenager, so everything's got to happen quickly. And trying to teach him that it doesn't.
Right, just had to wear the microphone. You didn't.
The thing is, Pacific Sea-wise, hobbies in general are not expensive. Wargaming, I can go and get armour fast models, you know, £10 for 2, £5 or £6 for a tank. If I want, I can pay a lot more, but I've got the option. I can go and buy a box of cheap Airfix figures, you know, £10 for 50. I've got that option. Modern railways, you just don't have that option. You know, okay, fortunately Daypole and Super Quick for buildings, but as soon as you go to Locos, rolling stock, track, you're buggered. There's no cheap way of doing it unless second hand.
This is no good. I'm shorter than you.
No, you did it like that.
But I'm not shorter than you in real life.
Yes, I got a nasty shock of static grass machine, which is why I gave up and used the plastic bottle.
And you almost fried my phone.
Yep. The Oxford Janus shunter is very good value for 55 because I bought one for 50. They were originally 100, but it does raise the point again that if somebody can afford to sell them for 50, why were they 100 in the first place? But they are really nice loco. I do have one. Bubble cars and DMUs cheap. You're not going to. I've spent the last 2 years trying to buy class 121s and things cheaply, and I picked up them for about 20-25 quid, and I've paid as much as 40. You know, you're just going to have to shop around. Frustratingly, Hornby a few years ago had them at £40 new and then stopped. You know, because they sold the 500 they made instead of making £2,000 and selling them at a cheaper price over a number of years. But you're not going to. Yeah. Oh, Model Minutes. Yeah, he's doing his military stuff soon. No, I don't. We don't LED our locos. I know you can get them cheap and it's easy to do, but I can't be asked. Rosen's Hill in the loft layout. Well, Rosens Hill was destroyed.
No, as in
there's the village.
The village.
The village is left.
They'll be putting Green Hill Halt in the
Bits of it might, because I've got a hill now where my light railway is that's going to run up two or three layers.
We have to. That's just the thing.
Yeah, so we will probably take the buildings off and the windmill, and it will get used, I think, for the village that comes off the railway. Yeah.
Shocked himself and threw it across the room.
Favourite model train currently. That one. You know, it's like people that when they talk to rock stars or authors and they say what's your favourite album or book, and it's always the last one you did. Yeah, I mean any smooth running locos. I really like my Lima 262s. I've got a little 040 Hornby saddle tank in the BR Black. I think it was the 2009 or 2010 collector's one, which I paid about 12 quid for, and it's just wonderful. It just runs beautifully, looks great. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have a nice loco, really. Yeah, I'm the same about Engage, just too small for my eyes. Mahano won't go into 00. Mahano have released loads of train sets really cheap in the UK, and so long as you don't mind that they're American outline with continental couplers, which makes them wrong on 2 counts for the purists, I've got loads in the loft which I bought second hand for the same reason. But they won't do 00 because it's too small a market. That's one of the reasons 00 in the UK, us being British, have to use a different scale to the rest of the world, and then complain that our model railways are expensive. You know, in America, I can get, even in the UK, if I go to Gauge Master, I can get a very basic Bobo diesel American outline. Is it F7 or something like that? Somebody can tell me, and it's £40 new. I imagine in the States they're about 30 quid. It's a big market. It's the scale everybody else uses, so it's cheap. We insist on being different, and we pay for it. Same as the Australians, you know, where they can't get it shipped, and there's not a big enough market for Australian railways. Somebody gave himself an electric shock in a static glass machine and threw it across the room. Sounds about right. Seriously, look for our video. Hagen, I can't pronounce it. The German railway company do a plastic bottle. It's £4, and I bought one, and it turns out it's identical to a curry powder bottle. It's identical. All they've done is bought the same bottle and put a different label on and added 3 quid. So I, in the end, out of interest, got a Sprite bottle, punched a big hole in the top, filled it full of static grass. You shake it up and down for 5 or 10 minutes till your arm goes dead, and then you shake it, and it works just the same as static grass, and you don't electrocute yourself, and you don't need a static grass applicator.
It uses real static energy rather than electricity.
How often in a year do I say, yep, it's time to tidy up the loft? Oh, about twice a week. We've got 35 years worth of accumulated crap up there.
Twice a week? You mean about twice a decade?
Yeah, no, to myself, I'm always saying I must sort the loft. Yeah. What is this motorised water tower from...
That keeps exploding. What do you mean motorised? Does it pump water?
I don't know. Does it pump water or spin round? Or, again, why would you motorise a water tower?
Why does it explode? Surely they should have motorised the windmill before they decided to motorise a water tower.
Yeah, we, by the way, can motorise a windmill for next to nothing. We have a video out there. Have you run the one I made for you yet? No, we haven't actually run the Loco yet, to be fair. We must do. We must put it on the layout and film it and do a military layout.
Sat up here.
Yeah.
It moves into the train and has sound, so I'm going to assume it's got some kind of sensor so it moves above the train. But it explodes?
Okay.
As in, it catches fire or the lid pops off? Or
now, you could wear Marigold rubber gloves to use a static glass. It's quite a good idea, and I would quite like to see a photograph of somebody with pink marigolds up his arm building a model railway. That would be quite impressive. Yes, HO track is exactly the same as 00. It's just us that insist on running a bigger train on it.
Daypole water towers have electrical faults that cause sudden unplanned disassemblies.
Excellent.
As in, does it catch fire, or does... what happens?
It's spin and it's got sounds.
Okay, but how does it explode?
Well, I guess it spins around until it breaks off like that wind turbine.
They say the tower cracks and the lid blows off like a rocket.
Yeah, we won't be buying one of those then.
I think we should buy one just to see it as a rocket.
Second-hand buildings, mostly model railway exhibitions when they were happening. The club shops usually have loads cheap. Failing that, give classic rail at Ticehurst a ring or an email, because he's usually got loads kicking around, so where a lot of mine come from.
Oh, the capacitors exploded, so they've got dodgy capacitors in there. Oof.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, it goes bang, so I imagine that's the capacitors shorting out.
In America, there's a huge interest in model trains. In fact, it's probably watered down by being such a massive country, such a massive country that that probably all hobbies are there but hidden. But it's big business. But I believe your exhibitions are slightly different to the way we do them.
That sounds like a dodgy water tower.
There you go. Gauge mine to make a static grass starter kit with puffer bottle, grass and glue for £10. Right. I know, the glue's about £10 a bottle. Cheap PVA and a plastic bottle, and it'll be a lot less than £10, and it'll be identical. You do not need to pay £10, because you can buy the static grass for about £3 a bag. The bottle is effectively free, and any cheap old PVA will do it. This is one of the problems we do in model rail. It's like a lot of hobbies. You must use the correct glue that we sell to go with our static grass to make static grass work, and it is only £9.99 for 50 mils, or I can buy 5 litres for £10 from Screwfix, and that works just as well. It's what we do in this hobby, and all industries do it. I was in the shoe trade 30 years ago, and we would tell people all sorts of dire warnings of what would happen if you didn't use our polish on your shoes. They'll stain and get ruined, quietly knowing that any old cheap polish would do it, but it was a quarter of the price, and I'm on commission. Everybody's the same, Water tower makes a bang, it overheats and explodes, takes the lid blown right off. Apparently you wire up the capacitor the wrong way. Yes, you see that, Ivo, you're absolutely right. The Americans were very fortunate. There is, I'm led to believe, and somebody will correct me, but there's only something like 7 Locos in the whole of America. And what happened is that every company bought them, but then painted them in their own liveries. So it means that the model railway companies have only got to produce a limited number of Locos and can then repaint them. I believe some companies even sold them naked, if you like, so that you could paint them in whatever livery you want. The trouble is, every other country, the UK, how many classes of diesel were they, most of which they scrapped? That's epic.
Anthony Shipman, can we please show the photos on the stream?
Yeah, you sent us some photos, really nice apparently. So yes, you're quite right,
Ivo.
Ivo.
Them on the stream though.
Yeah, we're asking permission, is that right?
Yeah.
009 on a budget, yeah, use second-hand N-gauge track and don't worry that the sleepers are wrong.
Well, hey, right.
So what's that, it's
Let me
N-gauge,
go
is
back
it?
to the top. So,
It's in a box.
This is from Anthony.
Yeah,
So we got a box.
yeah,
Oh, there we go, I can full screen it.
yeah.
With a train on it. And then, what's that?
I take it it's N-gauge.
That looks battery powered or something.
Yeah. Very nice, I like that. Yeah, I like that. We like our micro layouts. So N or double O, please, is what we need to know. Because if it's double O, I'm doubly impressed, if you'll pardon the pun. Well, I wouldn't DCC and TTS sound fit a loco, but so we can't help because we don't go in for all of that, I'm afraid. Other hobbies. Airsoft.
Airsoft. We can't show you that though.
I can't show you that. He does Explorer Scouts.
Yeah.
And I'm a senior, very senior officer in the Army Cadet Force, which takes most of my time even in lockdown. And at the moment it's taking a huge amount of my time because although we're doing nothing, we've got to plan to do something, and so I'm doing more planning now than actually do when we used to do something. So yeah, that takes a lot of my time, certainly. Been doing it for about 20 years. So. Oh, it's Engage. He does say Engage. Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah. Do you think I can waterfill my layout using transparent glue? Yes, I will. Waterfill layout using transparent glue. You can do, or we used Poundland Yacht Varnish very successfully. What you don't need is the £30 water effect kit, which is what a lot of people use. Yeah, undecorated locos. Yeah. And of course the advantage as well is they know that they can sell those American locos all over the world, because there's American railway enthusiasts all over the world. Whereas obviously in the UK it's much smaller. We do very well in Australia and the ex-Commonwealth countries. Nearly said colonies, which would have lost us an awful lot of viewers. Commonwealth countries.
They're already going down. Look, 92 now. 91.
Never met an Australian I didn't like. Let's just put that out there.
See if they go back up now then, shall we? Trying to save yourself there. Oh, they're still going down. 90. What have you done? 88. Yes. You're actually
engaged sleepers are quite right. You can cut sleepers out if that bothers you. Although the best thing I've heard is just make it very mucky track, lots of ballast, lots of grass, and nobody notices the sleepers are wrong. Nobody ever noticed on Roselands Hill. Nobody ever commented on the fact that the 009 was running on engaged track. Would I ever use an airbrush? No, because it's 40 quid to paint stuff that I can do with a brush, to weather stuff that I can do with a brush, and then I've got to clean everything and take it all apart and fiddle with it and practice with it till I know how to use it, and I already know how to use a brush. So no, I'll never use an airbrush.
Model minutes, is that your one in the garden?
It's my one what?
I wasn't talking
Oh,
to
right.
you. That's why I said model minutes. Yeah, it's hollow.
Oh yeah, it is. You're quite right.
Ow.
Well, of course, a lot of the US machines were more or less copied in Europe. So one of the reasons Mahano could get away with painting various US locos in Yugoslavian and French liveries was an awful lot of European countries used what were effectively American locos.
I can show these model minutes.
What's this then?
Model minutes is outside layout.
Oh,
OO gauge.
OO gauge. Oh, I really fancy an outside OO gauge layout. Because you can imagine the length of trains you could run that. Yeah, I'm impressed by that. I'm going to do that one day. So what do you do? Just lift it when he's finished, presumably, or is it permanently fixed? Right, all this about I've got OO gauge stuff, but nowhere to run them. And what if you've got a very small space? Bear in mind that we've built a layout as small as 24 inches by 15 inches using FlexiTrack and had OO gauge locos around it. We built Market Town, which was 18 inches by 4 feet and had all sorts of locos running around it. I've got a layout in my conservatory that's 4 foot by 20, 30 inches that we can run everything around, including Deltics and Evening Stars. I've got a shunting layout that's only 1 metre by 9 inches that I can run all sorts of things on. You've got to get away from this idea that we've been sold by the press that 6 foot by 4 foot is the minimum for a double O gauge layout. There is no reason why anybody at the very least can't have a shunting layout shoved on a shelf. We're talking 1 metre by 9 inches and I can shunt all evening long on it, and I've made a proper little station. It's got a coal yard, goods yard, station, tunnel mouth, the whole works. And I've got a really nice layout that does everything I want, that is 4 foot by 2.5 foot. And I run Evening Stars around it and Deltics and passenger trains, and it's got 3 sidings. You do not need a huge amount of space. If you don't make the buildings high, put it on a board, slide it under a bed. If it's a shunting layout, put it vertical behind a door. I mean, I won't show you here, but that's one thing most people miss. If you think behind the average door, there's a 9 inch by 6 foot space. You build your layout, you build it so it'll stand on its end, and you stand it behind your door. Everybody can have a double O layout. It's a myth that people don't have the space. You do have the space, you just got to look for it. And ignore everything every expert tells you about the minimums. That's rather nice.
Model railway layout in a Turkish delight box.
Yeah. Now the hedgerows one, Carl, we rest his soul, John Winterbottom, who's my wife's friend's father, who passed away at the end of last year. He's even better because he took the scouring pads, bends them in half and glues them together, and then you get a round top on your hedge, which I hadn't thought about. So those that we've got to do that at some point. But it is, a pack of scourers for £1, a pack of scatter for a couple of pound, and you can make yards and yards of hedges when they're an extortionate price from any of the companies. I certainly wouldn't buy hedges. Does Doug do any model railway building? No. He used to, until a couple of years ago, and then I've kind of taken over. I've got a bit obsessed with it, well, a lot obsessed according to my wife, and I just love the whole thing. I love wiring, building baseboards, building buildings, and because I'm a practical, creative person. I can't draw or paint for toffee. I can't even finger paint. I'm the only one in my family can't. All my family are quite accomplished artists, but I can make stuff, and that's what I do. But no, Doug's got off that, but he's very good at 3D printing, and he does the 3D printing designing.
I run the business.
And he does all the editing. He
run the
whinges
business.
non-stop about doing the
I run
editing.
the business.
Whinge. I've got to edit, I've got to do some work. I've actually got to do some work.
I run the business.
Pretty much. But I do all the creative stuff, so I make it.
But I run it.
One of the problems I've got is that if I'm going to make something, this is the problem we've got with the signal box, filming it slows me right down, and I just want to make it.
So I decided that I was going to trust you with the camera and the microphone
Which I forgot
to
to
do
turn
your
on.
own video, and you didn't turn it on.
Only for the last bit. The rest of it I did. 2/3 of it, there's
Filmed
sound.
your video with it off.
No, only the end bit. I did 4 bits and only 1 bit hasn't. That's a quarter, not all of it.
Press the on button.
Yeah, the ironing board was really clever. I mean, that was such an interesting story because I had no way of mounting Market Town, and I had actually seen a video. And in a really odd moment, I was driving through Jarvis Brook at Crowborough, and as I drove into the car park, oh God, yes, somebody had an ironing board. I wonder if I can get an ironing board. And I got out of my car, walked to my customer, and the second shop I passed was a charity shop, and there's an ironing board in the window. Just bizarre. It was meant to be. So I went in and said to her, "How much for the ironing board?" And she says, "Well, I can't really sell it. It hasn't got a cover." "I don't want a cover. But it's only the metal and the legs." "I don't care." "Well, you can have it for £3." "Great." She said to you, "What do you want it for? Because you want it for something odd, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I want it to put a model railway on." And her son was a volunteer at the Blue Belt Railway, so she thought that was brilliant. So I got this ironing board. It is still the best way of displaying a shunting layout at an exhibition. It's brilliant. You put it up, pop the legs down, done. I love that. Class 43 high-speed train. We've got one. I probably wouldn't buy another. What's your email, guys? You put the email up, haven't you? Somebody wants to send us some more pictures. Some mugs with our usual quotes on, like "Don't buy DCC" and
We could do that, couldn't we?
"Please use WD-40 and 3-in-1 won't melt your Locos."
We could do some good mugs.
No, I'm definitely not the beauty. He is the brains, but
And the beauty.
yeah.
And the genius.
Yeah, I know people make layouts in box files. It's one of those things. I'm really looking forward to people doing something different, though, to be fair. Like the toilet seat. No, HO is actually second-hand in the UK, cheaper, because nobody wants it. So I had bought Mahano Locos for as cheap as £1 and £2, which are all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, and much better than, say, a Hornby Class 25, and cost me nothing. And I have a drawer full of Mahano American Locos in HO that I've paid £8 or £9 for. Great big Coco diesels that are the best running. We had one pulling something like 36 wagons in the loft. So now shop around. HO can be really cheap, especially some of the Mahano and things like that, the UF, because nobody wants it. I got Doug an HO Mahano TGV for £35, which is just bangs around, and even the new ones are only about 80. And Mahano at the moment will sell you an HO train set with a whacking great diesel controller, brilliant controller and everything for £55 on Amazon. Oh, well, no, there's no arguments, they're discussions. We don't argue because I'm right.
I'm right. And then we don't argue because I'm right, because whenever I'm right, you always tell me to stop.
You see, the difficulty is Doug thinks he's right, and I know I'm right.
No, I know.
I particularly like the quote from Skyfall, which is that age is no guarantee of wisdom and youth is no guarantee of innovation. I love that scene between James Bond and Q. In fact, I love the whole Skyfall film. It's one of my favourite films. I just love the dialogue all the way through. We won't start the debate on the best Bond film, because if anybody tells me it's a Sean Connery film, I shall just laugh and laugh and laugh, because wooden doesn't come into it. You have to look at the production standards of 1960s films. By the standard of a 1960s film, I get that they were good films, but they're awful films, only surpassed by the later Roger Moore ones, which even he admits were awful. Yeah, just do it. Just buy some track and some board and lay the bloody stuff and build your layout. Don't spend 10 years planning it and 4 years laying the track like I've seen. Yeah. Ironing boards. Do we have a class 90?
Don't know.
No, I don't think so. You could buy an HO Loco, you could buy a Lima Class 33 HO Loco, and then you could buy our budget model railway, 00 Bobo League.
Bobo Diesel
Loco
body or
rail bus.
Bobo Diesel rail bus.
And put it on. Yes, you can tell the difference between HO and 00 because they are, although it's 3.5mm as against 4mm, it makes them substantially smaller. It doesn't really matter. We ran a lot of HO when we didn't know the difference when we first started, and I still like some of my HO. But yeah, you can tell the difference. It doesn't mean it's got to stop you. The main difficulty is they're different couplings, so you can run them happily, but you can't use your 00 stock. That's a big board.
Have you seen a big layout like that upended?
Yeah, it's perfect, but it proves my point. Upend it. It might be quite so good when you've got buildings on it, though. Just putting it out there. I didn't like Timothy Dalton. Again, bit wooden. The best one, of course, was who's your man that did On Her Majesty's Secret Service? George Lazenby, the Kiwi, who allegedly got greedy afterwards, asked too much money, and never got asked to make another Bond. But I rather like George Lazenby. Yes, my collection is too big that I can't remember all my locos. Yes, it is too big. Yeah, Evening Stars, back to second loco. It was first loco I actually bought after the one I bought him, new second-hand one, because I knew my dad had had one. And it wouldn't work, and then we found somebody had tried to DCC it, so we ripped the chip off.
We
and
literally ripped the
it worked fine.
chip out, and then it worked.
Buildings come off and live in a box. Yeah, very clever. Yeah, I've seen that done. Yeah. No. It's very difficult to do ballast. Yeah, I mean, we did do fish stones, so there's all sorts of things. There's various granular products that are much, much cheaper than model railway products. So if you go into your local aquarium, they have all sorts of stuff, much cheaper. Various pet products, chinchilla dust. There are all sorts of alternatives that if you shop around are hugely much cheaper than buying a tiny icky little bag of model railway ballast, which you'll need bags and bags and bags. When we were ballasting, we were constantly buying bags because we didn't have enough. It's just too expensive, too messy. If you must ballast it, there are some cheap alternatives. I just can't be asked to ballast it.
The depot water tower just sits there, and then when you press the button, it blows your head off. Great fun for only £42.50.
I have used roofing felt underlay, but it wasn't as successful as roofing felt. Had I known it, because we had got loads of black stuff, we've laid black in the loft downstairs on the bottom bit, and if I dry brushed it with grey like my current layout, it looks epic. But you can get grey roofing felt that does not look any different to ballast mat, but it's quite difficult to get hold of. Did George demand one of the horses too? Probably, and probably one of the Bond girls if he'd got any sense. Great fun for only £42.50. They must have some hacked off customers. £42.50, pressed the button and it blew up.
Does it blow up the first time, guaranteed? Or is it like only some blow up, or is it some blow up after a long period of time? Or
So,
just first time?
Are some people disappointed because theirs didn't blow up?
That's a fair point. Are people buying them to blow up?
I mean, that's a very...
Didn't do anything.
Yeah, they didn't do it. I want my money back. Mine didn't. I bought it on the basis that it blew up. Cat litter might work. I'm sure there's any number of products if you must ballast track that you can use. Cat litter won't, as it absorbs moisture.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of it.
No, it goes all mushy instead of staying granular. Yeah, I get that. We've used chinchilla dust. If you don't mind beige, I guess you could paint it. If you wanted brown, use tea bags. I've used dried out tea leaves from tea bags. It is brown, but then a lot of ballast is brown by the time the trains have run up and down it. And if you don't mind laboriously drying tea leaves in the oven, which is what I did.
So the water tower is plugged directly into the mains. It's not even coming off your controller power supply. So they've created a 240 volt portable bomb.
Yeah, it's epic. Somebody didn't, but they must have tested it.
You would have thought.
Yes, but then let's be fair. Somebody tested the original SA80, and that was awful because it wasn't tested in the conditions it would be used
one
in.
That was perfect.
No, what they did was they used
No,
it.
it was in the
water tower. Yeah, no, they tested the SA80 extensively on ranges, not somewhere hot and dusty. We ended up using it somewhere hot. And before anybody gets across, the current A3 is probably the best assault rifle in the world, bar none. But nobody wants to buy it because, of course, it's got a bad reputation. Best place to buy second-hand points. Classic Rail. Just give him a ring or an email. They'll cost you about £5. And some exhibitions, although you get the odd chancer. I have bought them on eBay without too much difficulty. Again, I wouldn't pay more than half price, so you might as well buy a new one. But you pick them up £5 or £6 all day long. And the only point we've ever had go wrong was a new one. There's nothing wrong with second-hand points. Again, just ignore the old boys and the magazines and the trade press and all the people telling you myths about second-hand being awful.
Russian roulette water tower, apparently.
You know, how can
now I want to take
a piece of track, which is 2 bits of metal and some plastic, be wrong and faulty when you buy it second-hand instead of new? It's plastic and 2 bits of metal. Apparently Sam's Trains have got a good review of it.
I'm just checking on the... Depot undertakes stringent testing on all of its products and only grants permission to get into...
Don't slag companies off online, they get really upset. And find a video of it by all means.
Effective products.
Russian roulette water tower. I don't have a favourite Irritor model.
Oh, no, it's not just one water tower.
Oh, they do several. You can pick which colour you want to blow up. There's 4 different colours you can have blow up. I actually like the end of steam and the beginning of the green diesels because I can run a bit of both. But actually, my favourite era, I suppose, if I'm honest, is rail blue. For the simple reason I had no interest in trains, like I've said, until 9 years ago. But I did grow up in the 1970s and the 1980s. And so I know I spent a lot of time on blue diesels. I just don't know what they were because we used to commute and have holidays. And a lot of the books I've read, they just remind me of 70s and 80s when I was around. So although I had no interest in trains, I like recreating the scenes I've seen in the book. So we're really unusual in model railway enthusiasts. Most model railway enthusiasts, it's all nostalgia. This is why steam is so huge, and when that generation is gone, we've got a problem. I have no recollection of railways at all. I have some nice memories of Doug when he was little, sort of 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, I quite like rail blue. I like rail blue.
What you got here? Another one.
Oh, same guy. Yeah, epic. I love the landing craft. No, you don't need to actually extra. I've got Lima Locos that run beautifully over points. Some will, some won't. Try cleaning your wheels. Yeah, very good. Not only did the test pilots tell the Air Force not to buy the F-100, everybody that tested the M16, which was designed as an assault, as a survival weapon for the US Air Force, told the US Army not to buy the M16. I have actually been at Shrivenham and seen a 7-foot long, 2-foot high pile of paperwork which was sent to the Shrivenham, which is a small arms school of the British Army, by a retired general, and they were all the documents from the M16 trials. And the guy there said, "You seem to know a bit about your guns. What do you think all those say?" And I said, "They say it's a pile of crap." And he said, "Correct." And didn't stop the Americans buying it. In fact, as a weapon, once it was sorted, it was okay. It was the ammunition that was the problem.
Just so you know, we're not allowed to talk about guns on here.
All right, sorry,
or
folks.
we get demonetised.
Okay, no more discussion
all
on
you
anything
do
military.
Is talk about military.
Well, somebody
all
asked.
of these streams.
I talk about diesels. Like, no more military questions. Okay, guys, we'll stick to railways.
No, just stick to things that don't get us demonetised.
Would we, if model rails are significantly cheaper, would you buy DCC? I will buy DCC when it's as cheap to buy a second-hand DC. Simple as that. When somebody can show me a DCC controller that costs £5 and a second-hand DCC Loco that costs 20, I'll have a look at it. But bear in mind, for what I do, it won't do anything that my DC won't, because I don't want to run more than one Loco at a time, and I don't care about sound and lights. So for me, there's no interest in DCC. Sorry. I wargamed for years. I didn't need to hear Tiger tanks firing. I don't need to hear that Locos rumbling. No, I never did finish the Engage one. I threw it away. I broke it up because I just couldn't get on with Engage. As somebody says quite rightly, water and electricity never was going to mix well.
No.
Do I leave a budget life? Pretty much. A little bit, you know. We're a slightly older generation. There wasn't a lot of money when I was a kid. And I've never got used to spending large sums of money. I don't feel comfortable spending large sums of money. Yeah.
The Great War of Daypole Water Towers and Modelers.
I like BR green diesels, but I like BR blue as well. Some of them are particularly nice. I've got a Hornby Class 29 that's very nice in green. But I don't like this whole I am only interested in one era and this era is better than that era. You know, people should model pink unicorn as we had at the beginning if that's what they like. Yeah, don't mention COVID or that'll get us banned as well. Quite right. I
think it does.
We have had a few people put politics and COVID and things on. Please don't.
You just get removed.
We just have to remove you. And if you do it too much, the channel gets shut down.
And if you do it too much, we block you.
Yeah, military trains. We could talk about military trains.
Yeah, I'll allow you to do that.
Yeah. Second level, always make out of cardboard. If you're making a raised level, you do not need to use plywood and timber. It's absolutely no point. You're only running plastic Locos on it. You don't need the weight. A small amount of ply so that you've got something to screw the track into, I can live with. Although I don't. I personally just nail it and screw it down. But because I find thick cardboard, you can still use track screws. Yeah, you can get contact. I've got Locos that have got lights that are DC, and I always like them when we got them. We've got coaches with lights, and when we started railways, we bought a Jouf Loco, didn't we? Just because it got cab lights. Do I dislike any particular Loco? Nope, don't do disliking stuff.
Yeah, we get a lot of people asking about our controller and shorting, and it doesn't do anything. I've purposely tried to break our controller when we first made it. I laid screwdrivers over the track, I laid screwdrivers inside the controller contacts. Nothing happened.
Yep. When you say cardboard works well until you put 2 kilos on it, if nobody's ever done the test with corrugated cardboard. It's something we used to do at school. You roll up corrugated cardboard, you make a pillar, you make a series of pillars, you put corrugated cardboard on top, and you can stand a 9-stone man on it and it won't collapse because of the way the corrugations work. There is no weight issue on cardboard so long as if you use corrugated cardboard as a honeycomb and something like foam board on top, won't matter what the weight is, it's not going to crush it. Glue trap with Yoo-hoo, yeah, I know people do use that at PVA. Worst model you've ever bought? Well, I said that was that. We did that last time, didn't we? It was Class 24 that somebody sold me, converted from a Hornby 25. When it turned up, it got screw link couplings, and the bogies were broken in the mounts. So it ran in a straight line. As soon as it hit points or curve, it just derailed. And it was described, as in epic condition, wonderful runner. And the guy wouldn't have it. And in the end, I had to send it back to him and say, look, the bogies are broken. And it cost me like £5 to send it back because it was before the days of YouTube paying for your postage back, which they do now.
You mean eBay?
eBay. Yeah, awful, absolutely awful. Program with the dock side. Yeah, I'm going to start painting it very soon. However, I've just bought the book I showed you for ideas, and I have got another relatively expensive book that I've bought specifically about modelling harbours because I need a bit more info about what they used harbours for and ideas, just so that I don't miss out on anything. There you go. So honeycomb's strongest naturally occurring shapes there is. There's nothing wrong with the mainline ones. They're just noisy. They run okay, but my God, they're noisy. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the mainline ones. Yeah.
Should probably turn the printers off in the background.
Go on then. Well, actually, you say model airports. The first building he ever built was the Super Quick bus station.
I knocked the back seat.
We converted it to an aircraft hangar, and we wanted an airfield. And I had bought an old Novo Oxford to paint in civilian colours, because you can use that any time from the late 1930s through to the 1960s. But I just need space and a layout to put the hangar that we've got and the planes we've got. But we'd like to do an airport. What time is it for you guys? It's 20:36.
You mean 8:36?
No, because he might think if he's asking for another place in the world, he might think that means in the morning.
6 p.m.
We always use 24-hour clock.
Oh, boring.
Or Zulu, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about the film. I haven't got a vision. I mean, the only thing I understand about the real APT was it gave people awful motion sickness till they sorted it with the Pendolinos.
Well, my chair's on recline mode. The room sounds quiet now.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Can we repost the film you did on modifying Hornby points with foil? Well, it's on there. I mean, it's still live. You just scroll through and find it. It's not tricky. You just get a tiny sliver of tin foil and you super glue it to the plastic, not too far over.
Don't touch the frogs together.
But don't touch the frogs
Get
together.
close as close as
you can.
But don't touch.
As long as they don't touch, and then it'll run over the track. And every so often you have to replace them. But it completely transforms the old Hornby points for nothing, basically, a few pence. Yeah, I mean, I like a very quiet Loco, but I've got a Lima Class 20 that I shunt with, and I swear it's got DC sound in it because it's so noisy. It just sounds like a real diesel. It's 12:36 in America. 2:37 in Indonesia. Oh, Indonesia. We don't.
2:37 in the morning. That must be in the morning.
No, midday, isn't it?
Indonesia. 2:36.
2:37. That's in the morning.
That must be in the morning.
Well, thank you very much for watching us in the middle of the night in Indonesia. I hope everything's all right with you guys out there. I'm very impressed we've got somebody watching in Indonesia. I bet there's not much model railways goes on out there.
Oh no.
Own back scenes. Yeah, we use the Pico because they're cheap. Doug's got very good at printing stuff off a computer.
Haha. Photoshop skills.
And I've just bought a very nice Gauge Master one. I am at some point going to get my watercolour paints out and have a go at painting my own, because I've seen some that look okay. The European layout still exists as a baseboard, and it will get finished at some point because I've got nothing to run my Italian Locos on, and I've got some really nice Lima Italian Locos. So at some point, and it is one of the nicest, that ballast mat just worked, the beige ballast mat. So at some point it's got to get finished, but when, I don't know. Oh, getting ready for Ramadan. That's going to be tricky in lockdown as well, isn't it? But all the best for that. Yeah. Yeah, we've had that comment. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can use, if you want sound, I'm sure there's some great ideas. I'm just not bothered about sound because it's the old problem. How realistic is your sound? You haven't got the squeal of the wagons, you haven't got the clank of the wagons, you haven't got the background noise. Once you go down the sound route, well, how much sound is enough sound? You know, one of the best ones I saw was a guy who just put speakers over the back and runs a constant loop through. Sounded much better. You have to be a bit careful. They're just not silent motors sometimes. You do get stuff in the gears, but for us personally, I've found the pancake motors, what makes the noise is if you put a tiny drop of oil, when you look at the pancake motor, there's a bearing runs through the middle, tiny little drop of 311 oil on a pin at each side, and that usually silences them down. But some of them just won't be quiet. You know, they're a very basic motor, so you can get a Friday afternoon motor. I've got two of the, I've forgotten the number, I think it's J70. One is the smoothest, quietest Loco I own. The other is a complete dog, and they're identical. It's just there wasn't the production standards to make them all perfect. Yeah, the Airfix Class 31 is noisy. I don't want sound. I didn't say I spent £50 on books on Real Harbours. I spent £20 on books for Real Harbours. But ultimately, partly that's because we are very fortunate. We have members and patrons and subscribers who contribute. So I like occasionally to spend a little bit of money so that I can review things and talk to people. The actual layout's not going to cost me very much because all the building is going to be built for free. No, Backman in the UK is very high end. I know it's interesting in the US it's low end. Yeah, somebody recorded the sound of the diesel. It's a great idea. In the same way as I did spend a bit of money on the book on the Derwent Valley Light Railway, because that was a fascinating railway that stayed independent right until the late 1980s. And that gave me huge amounts of ideas for real layouts. So sometimes for us it's worth the investment, because we'll then make layouts on them, we can make videos on them, people get to watch them. So some of it is investment for other people. Would I have spent it for me? No, of course I wouldn't. But we have 18,500 people watching our videos, so we have to contribute a little. Oh, you get Backlin, Marklin, yeah. Do you get Indonesian stuff in Indonesia is the question, isn't it? Yeah, we had Clyde Puffer last time. Somebody makes a really great card kit of one in the UK. But you can't really just use scale massive ships because they just dominate the whole layout. That's why most of us use barges and things like that to keep the size down. No, I'm always conscious that they're just models. I didn't push tanks across the table in a war game going brum, 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 just for the noise effects, and I don't go chop, 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 chop. For me, they're just models, and I like watching the models go around. To me, yes, they might recreate scenes, but because I don't remember railways, I'm recreating scenes in my mind that I've seen in books that I like. So for me, I don't need the sound. I quite understand that if as a lad you stood on Great Northern Eastern Line watching A4s thump up and something else, yes, of course I can see then why you would want sound and steam and the whole works. But that's the problem. That's what's fueling the hobby is, Mr. Flat Cap wanting to see the recreation of his and not minding if he pays £500 to get it and bugger the rest of us who haven't got that much money.
An app containing a catalogue of all of our videos. YouTube. It's already made. Yeah. It's already there.
Yeah. It is quite interesting that we quite often get asked, why haven't you made a video on this? And the usual answer is we have. Somebody asked me the other day about building buildings. Yeah, there's 5 videos on building buildings.
If you go onto the playlist section on our channel, I have organised all of the videos, which has taken me hours, but I've organised them into layouts that they're from, and therefore things that they are related to, and so on.
Yeah, I know it's boring, but just remaking videos so they're a bit more recent for people to find isn't really productive for us. Do we buy things through Facebook Marketplace? Okay. Yeah, I've got. Well, isn't trying. Mine's got a Hornby. I've got one of the Hornby B12s in blue, which is a fabulous looking loco, with the chuff chuff sound in the tender, which is basically a cam that runs on a bit of sandpaper. It's an okay little noise actually. I don't mind it. You say about your son does the Bebo for the diesels. We know one guy used to wind people up at exhibitions by making choo-choo noises as their very expensive DCC trains ran round. I think he got asked to leave in the end. Exactly my sort of guy. My friend's wife's from India. He built a scene in a glass-topped end table of the railway in her village. Very nice too. Big diesels, I imagine. I did have a plan to do a coffee table. I saw one cheap, but I wouldn't have known where to put it. They had one at the tip shop. Big table with a glass top. We're going to finish at just after 9 o'clock. That's 2100 UK time. I'm not going to work out what that is in the other countries you're watching. About 20 minutes.
Place.
Our biggest markets actually are obviously the UK, and then Australia and the US, obviously I guess English speaking. But we do have people from most countries in the world. Quite a lot of Dutch, which again is probably because of a lot of the English spoken.
New Zealand, then Europe, then South America. I don't know, because YouTube have changed their whole analytics system, so I don't know how to find that information out anymore.
It's on my tablet.
Oh, lucky you.
It's on my old tablet, it still works. Well, you have to look at that. Yeah, I bet. Making some scenes in Indonesia, I bet. It's a bit vibrant jungle, isn't it? It's a bit of scatter and a couple of cheap trees isn't quite going to do it, is it? Yeah, I mean, you hear some awful stories from exhibitions from people who are a bit snobby, sadly. I mean, I know they only printed it to wind people up, but a couple of years ago in one of the magazines was a guy who wrote in and said, why do they let children and people who aren't interested in the real railways into model railway exhibitions? They're uninterested, they don't know what they're talking about, and they get in my way when I'm trying to watch. And I particularly don't like children. Why bring them? They're not interested. And I thought, what a great way of building the hobby up. Fantastic. And then he had a rant about people with backpacks, you know, because I expect he had his jam sandwich in his pocket, you know, hadn't showered for 10 years. I mean, when we were at Model World, when it used to be there, I can't remember what it's called, but there was a guy who did a fabulous diesel layout in a circle. And this guy came up to me and
Dulwich Vale.
Dulwich Vale. Came up to me and said, oh, would you look at that? Look at the clearances on his platform, and it's running that blue logo with quite the wrong. And I've got to sit to him, I've got no idea what you're talking about, mate. I don't care. I'm just enjoying the layout. And I felt like saying, and you could try a shower next time, you know. I can't talk about the Karens. We might get thrown off again. Or is that Burma? Yeah, 24-hour clock. Well, I'm used to 24-hour clock from Cadet Force, so. 100 people watching. Excellent. The Welsh, yeah, I always like the Welsh. My favourite places. Some of my favourite places are in Wales. You can detail kits if you want. I don't. I'm quite happy with them the way they are. Or I wouldn't have hand painted a little Daypole kit and been chuffed a bit to it. I think it's about enjoyment. You know, I've had as much enjoyment out of funny old Locos that we've gunked up we've you know, degunked and cleaned with WD-40 and 3-in-1 and repainted and had running, and you feel you've achieved something. You've got a Loco that wasn't running that's running. You know, when you take a £200 Loco out of a box and everybody's got one and it's perfect, but you paid for it to be perfect, I'm not quite sure you have quite the same emotional link to it, personally. We wouldn't comment on the worst exhibition we've ever been to because we might not get invited again.
I think we all know which one it is.
We know, but yeah, it wasn't worse. It just wasn't the friendliest. You know, something for us was the pleasant surprise because we got there and it's quite a little hall, but they're just wonderful people. They've always made us feel at home. They're very welcoming. We liked Seaford as well. New Haven Model Railway Club. Obviously, Bluebell have always been very good to us, but we do like something. It's just a great little show. We like the people down there. If you manage to glue them, you won't leave a trail of parts. Presumably, we're talking about the Daypole water tower again.
What?
You can have a fleet of lemurs for £2,200. Wow. So it says, if you manage to glue them, you won't leave a trail of parts. I'm assuming that's talking about the Daypole water tower. Or a tin helmet on the top for when it goes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have got a fleet of Lemur Locos for £200 because we bought a lot of ours in the early days when they were still 20-25 quid. You struggle now to get them much below about 40, unfortunately, because the prices have got silly. But yeah, no, we've got, one of the reasons we've got so many Locos is we bought them when they were 20-25 quid each. Yeah, I've got the detang a bit. Yeah, BMR tour around the UK. Yeah, we're still thinking about that.
We should.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably have to use point motors in a couple of places, although Doug forgot to put it in the last video. I have done one now with a push rod that's literally a skewer, wooden skewer, with a plastic fence post from a Daypole fence kit, which the hole's the right size for the point stick, and two of those plastic cable things that you hammer in, and the rod runs through that and moves the point. We'll put it on a video at some point. We like point motors. We used to use them. I just can't get asked to wire them up. I haven't wired up the ones on my Homeward Vale yet. Falla are great. They're wonderful, except they're not UK. If you can get them second hand, they're great, but obviously they're really expensive new. Of course, they're wonderful, wonderful buildings, but they cost you a fortune to make Market Town out of Falla kits. It's expensive enough using Metcalf. As I said earlier, even if I had an unlimited budget, I still wouldn't spend a lot of money on a train. I'm not of the generation, or wasn't brought up to think spending a huge sum of money on something. You know, a lot of this, many years ago when I was into motorbikes, I had a friend when BMW was seen as the creme de la creme, and he never wanted one. And a BMW dealer said to him one day, "Look, I'll give you one for a week. You'll want to buy one," because he got 9 motorbikes, Dave. And he borrowed it for a weekend, and he gave it back to the guy. And he said, "Yeah, it's fine." He said, "But it's not worth the money." And he said you could see what had happened. People had bought them, thought, well, they're all right. They're not going to tell their mates, and I spent quite a lot of money and it's all right, but it's not better than my Japanese bike. So everybody, they're great. And it's the same with a lot of the trains. You know, yes, you know, they're wonderful, but do they do anything that I know? I've got Locos that are detailed enough for me, and they're smooth and they're quiet and they run over points, and they're great, and they cost me 30 quid. I'm quite happy. I don't need to spend £200 to be happy, I suppose is what it's about. Working pentagram and engine. Do you mean pentagraph? Because pentagram is something quite different.
What?
Wonder if anyone will ever make a working pentagram and engine. Well, a pantograph is an electric thing that goes on the top of a loco. A pentagram is a star that's part of the pagan, shall we say, culture.
And a pentagraph is a machine that makes spiral patterns on a piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Why spend, you know, when you could spend £100 and have your whole layout? Get Plastoy building sets. Well, I'll have to have a look out for those. Plastoy. Make a note of that, assistant.
Plastoy? What do you mean, assistant?
Thank you.
You're the assistant.
No, you're the assistant.
You're the assistant.
Nah. Yeah, we'll have a look at that, Ivo. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Yeah, I mean, you can get working pantographs. I know. I mean, they're quite common on European HO locos. For me, again, probably not worth the fiddly diff. I understand they're a nightmare because you've got to get exactly the right height unless you can get it sprung. Yeah, I have used uncoupling track. It's fine if you always want to uncouple at that point, or you want to run your locos across at a bit of a speed. If you want to run across very slowly, it uncouples everything as it runs across. But I do use them on my fiddle yards of my shunting layouts. Yeah, good luck with the fasting, Ahmed. And we'll speak to you again soon. Do we have other people's top 3 YouTube channels? Well, I'll always say that Barry Davis is great because he has great fun with his railways and hasn't got a scrap of scenery on his layout. Old trying buildings, runs it around, absolutely great. Loves him. I love watching him. He's one of my top 3, definitely. Yeah, I just don't fancy the complexity of having to get my pantographs to go up and down. I do like the idea of a pentagram loco goes right back to doing a pink fluffy one, but at the other end of the scale, doesn't it? A pagan railway set. That'd go down brilliantly, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, Barry's great. I could sit and watch his videos all night long. He's just enthusiastic, runs his train, doesn't care that he hasn't got any scenery or ballast or anything else on there. He just enjoys himself. I understand he's quite an experienced railwayman in his time. I believe somebody told me he's a signalman or something like that, so he knows his stuff. But he hasn't let it spoil it. He's got all the qualifications to be a first-class rivet counter, but he isn't. He just sits and runs trains and enjoys himself. He's got a fairly big loco budget, I must admit, judging by how many he has on there. But hey, you know. Marklin did a pig once. What kind of pig?
Micro pig?
Flying pig? Oh, I can't do that. I was going to tell you another story about flying pigs, but it's military, so I can't.
Flying pig from Toy Story, you know?
Yeah, it means something slightly different. I'll tell you when we're not on air.
Yeah.
So I think about 5 more minutes.
Fine. When we're not on air, I'm going to sleep.
No, you've got that video to edit.
No, I'm going to
It's got to be done by Tuesday.
I'm so tired, I'm going to sleep.
Tomorrow we've got to do it. It's got to be done by Tuesday.
Oh.
Doug, I'll sit with you for an hour and talk you through it.
Technically, it has to go up Tuesday at 5:30 PM,
Exactly.
so I can do it Tuesday.
That's fine, as long as you do it and don't keep putting it off, Mr. Prevarication.
I've only been putting it off for a week.
Right, where... No, he doesn't seem to have done any videos for a while, Barry Davis. Yes, you see, you go hard, you're quite right. We can enjoy our trains. I sat the other night, ran some trains, not sure if it's the right coaches behind that loco, don't care. Enjoyed myself. I don't have to get the consist book out to see that if in 1962 the down Penzance Pentagram Express used to run with... I mean, I actually had a comment from a guy once. It's such a shame. I've got this great intercity loco I like, but I had to sell it because I couldn't run it on my Great Western 1950s layout. Mate, what you do is you pick it up, you put it on the rails and you turn the controller on and it runs around the layout. It's not real, mate. You can run what you like on your layout. I just thought it was the saddest thing I'd ever read. Just put it on the rails and run it. I work on the railway and the signallers treat the railway as their own train set. Quite frustrating when you want to get work done. Yeah, true. There's a young changing table 3-year-old with Paul B04 He's fab, yep. Oh, he's doing different channel. Okay, so we need to look for the new Barry Davis channel. Perfect.
No, I still don't have my Pendolino.
One day. They're very expensive at the moment. When they're not expensive, you can have one. Yep, the forces of the universe, yeah, in his own head. You know, he was afraid that somewhere the thought police of the model railway world would zap down and ban him from all exhibitions, and he'd lose his subscription to Railway Modeller and Model Rail because he'd got caught using an intercity train on his Great Western 1950. The best one I've seen the other end of that was somebody who in N-Gauge changed the number plates on the cars, not just to be date specific for the layout, but region specific. Because some of you remember, like me, in the early days when I was a kid, the number plate was much more region specific. So he actually changed all the number plates, which are what, 3mm long? Can't even read them with the naked eye. I'll drop the pig link under the video soon. Okay. Favourite layout we've done? Well, it'll always been Green Hill Hall because it was the first one me and Doug did, basically. But I do quite like the two I've got at the moment. What's your favourite layout?
Ratton Central.
The one in the loft?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you help me with it then?
Because I'm tired.
At some point. I didn't mean now.
Okay.
There's lots of scenery to do, buildings to make, retaining walls.
Sleeping to do.
It's a teenager. It's hard life being a teenager.
We've done this stream later than we normally do then.
7:30. We didn't start 7:30.
Nah, normally we do like
No, we normally
6.
finish at 9. No, we've never done 6. We did 5 once.
This is why you don't stay up late, kids.
Yeah, you'll be up talking on to your friend's girlfriend until about midnight anyway.
No, I'm going to fall asleep.
Right, couple more minutes and then Sleepyhead here wants to go to bed. I know people do that. Me and mine must kill them by toy running with a mic and a single wheeler. Yes, well, I agree with Dave Day, and I think this is one of the great quotes that I've seen in any of our comments. It's not the Great Western, it's your Great Western, and I just love that line. You know, it's your layout. If it's your interpretation of the Great Western or your interpretation of the Caledonian Railway. You know, what makes me is when you get them saying, "Well, it's absolutely accurate." Well, except for the fact that I've taken 2 foot off the scale length and I've moved the engine shed to the other side because in real life it's on this side. And obviously I've had to put a road bridge in that wasn't there because I needed to hide the track. But apart from that, it's an absolutely accurate representation of the... No, it's not. You've moved the engine shed and the goods shed and the road arch. It's not an accurate representation. Yeah, see, somebody else agrees loft layout's favourite. You don't need to photocopy brick paper. You can print it off, but make sure the printer inks colour fast because when you put PVA on it, it runs. We discovered, but I can always buy brick paper cheap second hand, so that's what I tend to do. The trouble is the Italian railway outline stock. It would be very outline because as soon as it's anything like it, you hit copyright problems. And then you hit the rivet counter problems. So there's always an element of we might do something freelance that looks ish, but it's going to be very ish. It won't be enough probably to satisfy anybody. That's why we do a lot of freelance. for specific months. Yeah, I've seen a similar thing either with military people, with certain air force at the end of the Second World War. Yeah. A garage sale, no, but I bought them at car boots and places like that. Dan Snow's dad, yeah, I know. I've seen some videos of Peter Snow. Dan Snow's quite into his trains as well. I mean, I sort of get it right. I've got some lovely maroon ones and some black and cream ones, which are pretty much right for the end of steam and beginning of diesel, all the way up. Really, the thing is, when you look at a lot of the books, that a lot of these rules that people think apply aren't really very true. You know, there were chocolate and cream and red coaches banging around for 20 or 30 years after people say there wasn't. And on some of the minor railways, there were four-wheel coaches banging around 20 or 30 years after people said there weren't. You just need to delve your head into a lot of the books a bit more. You'd be surprised what was still running a long time after people said they were running. You know, I knew somebody once who was still serving with Daimler armoured cars in, I think, the late 1960s, early 1970s in a reserve unit, tucked away somewhere, you know, 30 or 40 years after allegedly the British Army had stopped using them. Trains are the same. Have a little hunt around. You'll be amazed what ended up in strange places, far from where the people say they did or didn't go. BMR showed up in the N-Scale Union Pacific event subdivision YouTube channel poll as one of the other favourite YouTube channels by subscribers. There you go. Oh, run a 125 with coal trucks. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
We might have to do that. I like that. Put an intercity train at the front and run coal trucks on it.
With one of my intercities.
The interesting thing is, of course, I think it's the 92, which is the electric one you've got, that's got the funny little cab at the back. Oh, and
yes.
that was done because they expected to run them as ordinary electric Locos running the other way, pulling freight. So it would be quite interesting to put one of those on, wait till people whinge, and then go, no, actually, you're wrong. And we're right. Yep, people are going up the loft ladder to Sandringham Halt, so it's up the hill to Beddingham, I think. Are you ready to go? Yes? Oh, bless. You've got no stamina at that age. You know, bless him.
I got my teddy bear. I can go
He's got his
sleep.
Budget the Bear teddy bear. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks or so. What do we have? 696, our usual 700. About 800 at a time, so that's pretty good. Okay, we'll say thank you and good night. Stay safe wherever you are. Please remember to keep socially distancing. We will get through this. And we'll soon be back to exhibitions and all sorts of things like normal, I'm sure. We might then even do the BMR Roadshow.
That's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Good night, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Bye.